he hadn't spoke to me. He hadn't give any up. He was already giving updates on my health, and he had no idea what had gone on. Yeah, so disappointing, mate. Disappointing.
I wasn't saying anything negative toward him. You know, and I think the things can be taken out of context, or he didn't see what I said, because I don't even remember what the I said. But never once did I say anything negative about him, or, you know, in a derogatory way.
The UFC is buzzing once more after Dana White's sharp remarks toward Tom Aspinall set off a wave of debate across the fight world. Starting off, Tom Aspinall opened up about the bizarre backlash after the fight. He said people were actually claiming he faked the injury, even though the replay clearly showed an eye poke. Yet people still doubted him even after he spent weeks doing medical tests and gathering reports to prove what happened. Instead of easing the criticism, those reports only brought more noise his way.
And then I realized, like, oh, people genuinely think that I faked this. People actually think that I was faking it. And then I was like, did people actually see the replay of what happened? Because that was a full-on eye poke. So then I was like, what is going on? Why are people thinking I'm faking this, like, after everything that I've been through to get there? So then I left it quite a while. I thought, right, I'm going to get all the doctor's notes included. I've been through it for like loads and loads of tests for weeks. I've literally been in the hospital 2 or 3 times a week getting different tests. Then I come up with a doctor's report, and then people are like, oh, he's fine about it. He's doing a media tour on it. He's milking it. And I'm like, bro.
Next, Tom talked about hearing Dana's comments and said they left him a little disappointed. He explained that Dana hadn't spoken to him privately, yet was already giving public updates on his health without knowing what he'd actually been dealing with. To Tom, it just felt like the situation was being discussed before he even had the chance to explain his side.
Yeah, slightly disappointing, because he hadn't spoke to me. He hadn't give any up. He was already giving updates on my health, and he had no idea what had gone on. Yeah, so disappointing, mate. Disappointing.
Dana White later responded. He explained that the UFC had people checking on Tom non-stop, doctors, specialists, whatever he needed, and that he was simply repeating what he'd been told medically. Dana stressed he wasn't downplaying the injury at all, just saying he believed Tom would heal up, take some time, and return stronger.
So obviously, and I know Tom said, you know, I haven't even talked to him and all that stuff, but we have people all over him right now, you know, checking up on him, making sure he's good. Does he need any help, or, you know, any specialists? Yeah, I'm no doctor. I'm just saying what I've heard. And that was in no way, you know, it wasn't said in a way that they're like, oh, what do you think? I said, I think he's fine. Or it wasn't like that. I said, I think Tom's eyes are good. He's going to take some time, heal, come back to, you know, that's all I said.
Dana later clarified that he never said anything negative about Tom and believed his comments were taken out of context. He mentioned he didn't even remember the exact wording, but insisted nothing was meant in a demeaning way. Dana said Tom was understandably emotional after the injury. His main point was simply that Tom would heal up and return when ready.
I wasn't saying anything negative toward him. You know, and I think the things can be taken out of context, or he didn't see what I said, because I don't even remember what the I said. But never once did I say anything negative about him, or, you know, in a derogatory way. You know, I'm sure he's upset and fired up, and, you know, he'll get better, and we'll get him back in there.
Building on that, Luke Thomas added that this situation isn't really about personal tension, it's about star power. If Aspinall were already a major draw, the UFC would almost certainly defend him more aggressively. Promoters naturally prioritize their biggest attractions. Tom just hasn't had the marquee moments yet to reach that tier, which doesn't reflect his ability, only where he is in the climb.
I mean, what I would say is, if Aspinall was a huge driver of an audience for them, Dana would probably look past a lot of whatever else is driving the friction, right? So we probably wouldn't even be asking this question if he was drawing like enormous amounts of eyeballs. It just wouldn't even be a part of the conversation. You would be factoring in that Dana would just, you know, find a way to make you good use of that, which, by the way, you would expect a promoter to do that. That would be the right thing to do. So the fact that he's not doing that kind of tells you where you're at. Now, again, I don't think that's the biggest indictment on Tom. There's just not many stars, and Tom could be big and important for the UK market, which of course I think that he is, but he just hasn't graduated to, dude, it takes a long time to become a superstar. You have to get fights like the John Jones fight. You got to kind of win them. That's the thing that elevates you.
He added that Aspinall has superstar potential but hasn't fully reached it yet, which shapes Dana's approach. Still, Luke believes there's more behind the tension than just drawing power. Maybe Tom denied certain requests, or his father's involvement didn't sit well. Aspinall isn't a superstar yet, but he's far from irrelevant, and that middle ground can create friction.
Aspinall probably has enormous superstar potential, but hasn't actualized it yet, and I think Dana's calculus probably plays into that. However, what I would say is there's got to be something more to the story. They don't like that Tom might have asked for certain things or said no to certain things. They may not like that Tom's father is his own man and that speaks his mind. I mean, there could be any number of other things that are probably also exacerbating tensions, because I seriously doubt it's strictly, I mean, you know, like on the one hand, Aspinall's not a superstar. On the other hand, he's not a nobody either.
Meanwhile, Mark Goddard added his own perspective. He argued that the sport needs prevention, not just penalties, and that starts with fixing the glove. A design that keeps the hand naturally relaxed would reduce accidental pokes while still allowing grappling. This, he said, would make the whole situation easier for referees to manage.
I think we need to look at preventative measures too, and I think a lot of that rests in the glove. It's not like a magic, there's no rocket science, it's not a magic wand. I'm not saying that, you know, it's an easier mechanic as well. If we have a difference in the glove, without getting into it here, talking about how fighters' hands are during a fight, you know, in a natural C, you know, closed, obviously they still have to be able to open their hand to facilitate the grappling. But I think it's a twofold attack. One is mechanical, like I said, a change in the glove, a design to make sure that we can at least help to keep the hand in a relaxed state. Then if it's what I think then for referees, it's a much easier mechanic.
He also made it clear that in more than 2 decades of officiating, he's never believed a fighter intentionally tried to poke someone in the eye. Accidents happen because of styles and timing, not malice, and he urged fans to understand that. Goddard said the sport will keep working on solutions, but asked people to be patient as those changes take shape.
In a fight, I've never, ever, like I said, 21 years as a ref, I've never actually, in a free-form fight when people are exchanging blows, I've never once thought that a fighter has done that intentionally to poke someone in the eye. It just doesn't. I've got news flash. It just doesn't happen like that. Unfortunately, stylistically, unfortunate bad things happen in fights, and we're going to tackle it. That's all I can say. Please side with us.
Following that, Chael Sonnen brought up how sports like wrestling and judo involve non-stop hand fighting but barely ever see eye pokes. To him, that proves the problem isn't some unavoidable part of combat, it's specific to the way MMA is set up. He said we act like fighters never poke each other on purpose, even when the mechanics make accidents almost inevitable.
Wrestling, for example, with absolutely no glove whatsoever, we don't have a lot of eye pokes. They happen. They're not non-existent, but it's not to the point that it's a problem. Olympic judo. Judo in general doesn't have to be the Olympics, but you're allowed to touch the person's face. You're allowed to reach for the person. You're encouraged to do so, and you don't really have what you would define as a problem with eye pokes. So, but this is part of the pretend. This is all part of the pretend. We're pretending that the person poking the other person in the eyes is not trying to poke them in the eyes. We can't imagine that they would. It didn't look like they did.
Chael continued saying, the real problem isn't equipment at all, it's how the rules are enforced. He reminded everyone that MMA already has 3 basic, decades-old rules. No biting, no kicking a grounded opponent, and no messing with the eyes. If fighters were actually disqualified for breaking those, he argued, eye pokes would disappear instantly. To him, blaming the glove is just avoiding the tougher solution.
We've got the 3 big rules. We call them the big 3 because they're the only ones that were around in yesterday and they're allowed today. Don't bite him. Don't kick the son of a bitch when he's down, and don't touch his eyes. any one of those three. Has got to. If you want it to stop, and by the way, you don't need to change the gloves. Like, this is a cop-out. This is a massive cop-out. If you start disqualifying athletes for any one of those three, you will never see any of those three again. You can change the glove, you can chop their fingers off, or you can just hold them accountable when they do it. And that seems to be the one big idea that nobody has yet had.
Moving on, Michael Bisping weighed in, saying it's natural for Tom to feel angry since he's the one dealing with the backlash, the doctor visits, and weeks of not being able to train. Bisping doesn't think Gane did it intentionally. Sometimes fingers just go wild when you reach to grapple. He argued the current fingers up or down rule doesn't solve anything. In his view, the simplest fix is teaching fighters to keep a loose fist.
Now, obviously, Tom's the one living through this. Tom's the one that's getting absolutely slaughtered online. And Tom's the one 6 weeks later still having to go to the doctor and still can't train and do any kind of combat. So he's the man that's living with this, okay? So you understand you kind of will get emotional. You will be pissed off and you will think that Cyril Gane was doing that on purpose. I still don't, okay? I don't think Cyril Gane did that on purpose. What you want to do is crack someone in the face. And when the hands are out, when you go to grab, if someone comes in to take you down or whatever, sometimes that happens. That's why this whole rule of the fingers being up, not allowed there, but they're allowed there, is stupid.
This is number one.
Because what happens when someone comes forward and you go to grab them, because you can grab, you're allowed to in the rules, fingers go haywire, go into eyes. Make a fist, make a loose fist. It's not hard. That's all that's going to happen.
Bisping said Tom's first job is to listen to the doctors and not rush anything. He's still young, still in his prime, and has plenty of years ahead. Some people want him to come back raging, drop the nice guy act, and start knocking everyone out to prove a point. But Bisping doesn't think that's the right move. In his view, patience and proper recovery matter far more than trying to silence critics right now.
Is listen to the doctors. Do not rush anything. The man's still young. He's in his prime. He's not on borrowed time. He's still got years ahead of him. Listen to the doctors. Come back, whoop some ass, take the gloves off. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Tell everyone to go themselves, knock some people out, and this whole escapade will be behind him. Doing interviews and showing the receipts and showing the doctor's appointments and all the rest of it, I don't think that's the way forward. I really don't.
Moreover, Chael Sonnen pointed out that Tom became a champion, racked up first-round knockouts, and dominated the division, all while being calm and smiling. He's only ever needed a second round once, and he still got the finish. So Chael asked, if that's what he does in a good mood, what happens when he's angry? His point is that nobody knows, and that's what makes this version of Tom so dangerous.
You know that guy that is the world champion, and before that he was the interim world champion? You know that guy that knocked out 6 men in the first round? You know that guy that Bisping was talking about, who in his entire career in the UFC has only gone to the second round once? By the way, that was against a world champion who, by the way, he ended up stopping. That guy. That guy's done all of that in a good mood. He's done all of that with a smile. He's done all of that happy. What are you going to do with a 262-pound angry Tom Aspinall? And you can't answer that. We have to see it.
Aside from the whole Aspinall situation, UFC 323 has become the other major talking point. Even Khamzat Chimaev chimed in, congratulating Petr Yan on a great fight. He also wished Merab a speedy recovery and encouraged him to come back stronger, a rare moment of calm sportsmanship from one of the UFC's most dangerous contenders. Khamzat tweeted, congratulations, amazing fight, Petr Yan. I wish you a fast recovery and to come back stronger, Merab Dvalishvili. Next, Muhammad Mokaev also jumped in to praise Merab, calling him an absolute beast. He pointed out that while some fighters only compete once a year, Merab has put together 4 title-level performances in a single year, 5-round wars, championship weight cuts, every time. Mokaev said it's unbelievable consistency from one of the division's hardest workers. Muhammad Mokaev wrote, Merab is a beast. Some people fight once a year. This man had 4 title defense in a year, 5 minutes, 5 rounds, and making championships wait every time. Unbelievable. Additionally, Tom Aspinall reacted to the fight as well, saying he honestly couldn't imagine Merab losing anytime soon. Even with the setback, he gave Merab full credit for his 4-fight stretch and the level he's been performing at. Tom said the matchup was good enough to warrant another chapter. In his view, a trilogy would still be something he would want to see.
Couldn't see Merab losing anytime soon. Fair play.
He has had 4 fights.
Fair play, Merab has had 4 fights. I'd be interested in a trilogy. I definitely want to see a trilogy of that.
Reacting to the matchup, Aljamain Sterling said Merab didn't work the body with his hands the way he usually does, and that shift may have hurt him. He noted Jan looked more comfortable in southpaw this time, especially with the left body kick. Sterling believes the technical mistakes are easy to fix once they sit down and review the fight. He doesn't think this was Merab's best version and expects big adjustments if they run it back.
I want to say he didn't at all go to the body, like with his hands like he normally does. And we really feel like that could have probably been a difference maker. Kind of like when the first fight, Jan kept attacking the calf, and then Merab started kicking his leg back, and eventually he hurt him, had him forced to switch into the southpaw stance. This time, Jan was a lot more comfortable in the southpaw stance because he was having a lot more success with that left body kick. And yeah, just a couple of technical things we were doing wrong. I think once we look at it and evaluate it together, we'll all kind of see the same thing and be able to make those adjustments relatively quick. And just kind of do some fight walkthroughs, some fight simulations. And I think that's going to be the difference maker to us making adjustments to his adjustments. And I find it hard to believe that version of Merab was the best version.
Leonor Murphy also reacted to the matchup, calling Yan versus Merab a spectacular fight and admitting he watched it twice. He praised Yan's takedown defense, highlighting how well he handled the pressure. Murphy's takeaway was simple, high-level work from both men, another voice adding momentum to one of the night's biggest performances. Lerone wrote, Yan versus Merab was a spectacular fight. I've watched it twice. Solid takedown from Yan. Furthermore, Petr Yan, now the new champion, marked the moment by saying history had been made and thanked everyone who supported him through the hard times. He gave special gratitude to his family and team, dedicating the victory to them. Yan said this win finally put everything back in its right place. A confident message from a champion stepping into a new chapter. Petr Yan wrote a tweet saying, "History is made. Thanks to everyone who supported me through all the hard times, especially my family and my team. This win is for you. Now everything in its right place." From Tom Aspinall's eye-poke chaos to the Yan Merab shakeup, the conversation has swung fast across the heavyweight and bantamweight scenes. Fighters are chiming in, fans are split on whether a trilogy is the only right move, and the debate isn't slowing down. All eyes are now on what twist the UFC throws out next.